Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're doing, as we do for every set release, the Brawl review of the new commanders. We're talking about both reprints, new to Arena reprints, because there's some reprints that were of Legends already on Arena. We're not going to talk about those, and new cards included in MTG Foundation. It was released today, Tuesday, 12th November. Video was a bit delayed because of live, my computer broke, as you guys watched on the last video. But anyways, we're gonna go through them. I'm gonna give some recommendations of how I would build them and which ones I'm most excited about, as I will probably be recording videos for this, for a few of them in the coming weeks. So yeah, as always, we get started with, like, I used to call them just unplayable, and I think that's unfair, because if you're welcome to play them, I just don't think they are as powerful or as interesting as commanders. They might be better part of the 99. First and foremost, progenitors. So it's a 10 mana, double of each color, for 10/10 of protection for everything. The second part doesn't matter. It doesn't have any gimmicks, it doesn't have anything, it doesn't have any powerful. Yeah, it's a 10 mana, 10/10 with protection for everything. Yeah, it will kill your opponent fast, but like, you're spending 10 mana, you might as well kill your opponent fast. If you're gonna play a 5-color deck, there's so many better ones. If you just need a placeholder 5-color commander, there's so many better ones that will actually have an impact, like Golos or Marina or God, the first sliver, like anything that will actually do something in your deck. This guy just doesn't do anything, so I would skip him. I'll give him one moment just to make sure it's recording. It is recording. I am so sorry. We go back. No one noticed that. This is a Canva presentation. I have no shame. The Sparring Spike uses PowerPoint. I use Canva because it's a bit prettier. Anyways, the next one is Selrak. Selrak is a card I love, but I think it's best as part of the 99. It's a very powerful effect. Like 4 mana, 5/4 above curve. Beginning of combat, if you have total power 8 or greater, you can give haste to one of your creatures. That's powerful, but I feel like that's better as part of the 99, because then you can play another commander without haste that's super powerful, and you curve it out after Selrak and you just give it haste. I think that's a lot more powerful than just Selrak being there and just giving everything you play being haste. Could be interesting, but I think if you're just gonna be a mono green beatdown, and then you're probably gonna have something better than Selrak as your commander, because I don't think it's as impactful as you'd like. No ETBs, no like take over the game, giving only one creature haste, not giving like multiple. So I think it falls short as a commander, but as a 99, I think it's very interesting. Other than that, we're gonna get started with the commanders. It's in color order, not in like power level or interesting or anything in that regard. First one, Arabo the First Fang. Cat Lord, I think something that we kind of lacked. We have a bunch of cat tribal stuff, but we don't have really a Cat Lord. At least not even a white that I can think of. There's the dog and cat one at Inaya. But yeah, like the 3 mana 2/2. Other cats get +1/+1, and whenever it or when a non-token cat comes into play, you create a 1/1 cat token. So it's a lord that feeds itself. It's giving out itself other minions, if you will, creatures to bump. So what are we gonna do in that regard? Well, we kind of want to go wide. We want to play cats, and we want to do tokens. So we have one thing that you're gonna notice is I try to include for every almost every one of them, there's a card from the new set, just so you know. We get excited about the new set. I think it's worth including. So we have a Johnny. The -8 does make cats. The other abilities, they're good. Like, it's a 3 mana planeswalker. They have relevant abilities. It's not going to take over the game, but I think it's just worth including. So what do we want to do? We want to play other cats. We have like Rigo Caracol, King of the Pride, so the cat lords, and Rigo happens to make tokens as well. Intangible Virtue, any kind of Anthem effect. We'll obviously have them built into our lords, but Intangible Virtue, there's the one from Lord of the Rings that I can't remember, that gives an extra bump for legendary creatures. Going to Procession, since our commander makes tokens, I think could be interesting. Then we obviously have all the tribal, non-specific, but you can also play. We have the 4 mana Throne as well, Metallic Mimic, Automaton, and then I put Interlude, but it can be any blink effect. Basically, Arabo counts each cat that comes into play, including itself separately, not including tokens, obviously. So if you blink, you have Rigo, Arabo, and King of the Pride, for example, is the 3 we have here. We can even include Metallic Mimic in that regard. interlude the 4 of them. They come into play. Rego makes the 3 cats or the 2 cats, and then Arabo is going to trigger 4 times, make 4 cats. If you have a procession, that's going to be 8 cats. If you have the throne, that's going to be is that going to be 12 cats? Because it will trigger 3 times. No, it will trigger 8 times, and each time is going to make double tokens, so it's going to be 16 tokens plus the 2 from Rego. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I think Blink Effect is going to be very powerful. I don't think it's super interesting because it's just, I know, it's another tribal commander, which you all love tribal commanders. You can't go wrong with tribal, typo, if you will. Kindred? Can't remember which word they use now, but not my favorite tribe, but I think it's interesting nevertheless. You know, just a commander with, like, tribal commander with an Anthem effect, can't go wrong with it. So, you know, Arabo, that it is that. Then we have Jazel, or Jazal, Goldmane, Jazel, I guess, I don't know. Cat warrior, another cat, but doesn't care about cats per se. 4 mana for 4 with a strike, and you can pay 5 to give all your creatures +X, where X the number of attacking creatures. So this is a conventional mono white, go as wide as you can deck. This is a reprint from a commander set, if I'm not mistaken, but yeah. This one I did not include, I didn't find an interesting card. Flowering of the White Tree was the card I was thinking about earlier. So there's really no secret, as you can see here. We are going wide, so any token generators, when you attack you create tokens, comes into play, takes any card that creates more than 1 creature is something that we want. Because if we're just like curving out, let's say we go turn 1 creature, turn 2 creature, turn 3 creature, turn 4 Jazo, turn 5 activate Jazo, that's only +4/+4 if opponent had nothing. Now think about, okay, turn 1 we go for 1 drop, turn 2 we play Raise the Alarm, that's 2 creatures, we have 3 creatures now. Turn 3 we play Basri Cat, when we -2 attack, whoa look, oh that's non-token, never mind. We play Adeline, now we have 5 creatures. Turn 4 we play Jazo, now have 6 creatures, already +2, and that's just the top of my mind. There's probably other ways to make more tokens. So anything that makes multiple creatures just goes up a level with Jazo, because we want to go as wide as possible. We want to be able to swing out and not care that our creatures are going to die, because we're going to make them so huge and we're probably just going to kill opponent in that regard. But yeah, so it's a token, go wide, anything that makes multiple creatures. So Anthem effects become very powerful. Obviously you have the Jazo itself with the built in, but we want more, you know, stay on board Anthem, so we don't need to be spending 5 mana every time we attack. Rumor Gatherer is just a card that, since we're going to be making every creature we want to play has to be making at least 1 extra creature, so Jazo will obviously be very good because we'll draw at least a card every turn. Well, not Jazo, Rumor Gatherer. But yeah, that's the simple it is. I'm on a white go wide deck, there's no secret about it. Already down to blue, Arcana is the Omnipotent, also a reprint. So 6 mana, 3/4, you can tap it to draw 3 cards, and you can pay 4 to return it to your hand. It has like built-in protection. The new card that I think will be interesting for this deck is Homunculus Horde. Whenever you draw a second card each turn, you create a token that's a copy of this creature. So every turn you're basically going to make an extra Homunculus, and then exponentially, so now you have 2, now you're going to make another 2, and now you have 4, you're going to make an extra 4, now you have 8, you're going to make an extra 8, and then so on and so forth. Especially good because you can draw an extra card in your turn, and then you can draw 2 cards in your opponent's turn with this ability, for example, and go off from there. The plan is really to go through our deck as quickly. I just noticed that this card was not supposed to be here. Too late, it's staying there now. We just want to go through our deck as quickly as possible, so the likes of Jace could win us the game. We have Prophets, as we're going to be drawing extra cards, we're going to make our creatures huge, and we want to also untap our Arcanus, and we want to be able to use the Arcanus the turn it comes into play, because it's obviously a lightning rod for removal. Like, if they let us untap, we're drawing 3 freaking cards just by tapping our commander. That's gross. So obviously Swift Boots work both ways, Hexproof and Haste. Vizier and Cure untap it, and then obviously have the likes of Countess Magic just to, you know, stay afloat. We're playing mono blue, you know, Winter's Moon, all those kind of things, the Merfolk that makes all lands, non-basic lands into islands, those kind of stuff. Plan is just rummage through a deck as quickly as possible, maybe win through Jace, or just the sheer card advantage, countering everything, Cyclonic Rift our opponent out of the game, things like that. Interesting, not in my top from this set. Next, another blue one, Kiora, follows very similarly. When it comes to play, you draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, and when you have Threshold and Kiora attacks, you create an 8/8 legendary creature Scion of the Deep. So first and foremost, the card from the new set, we are talking about Kaito. The part we're interested in is the +1 up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Basically, a 3/2 with no flying, no island walk, no menace, no death touch. There's like nothing about this card that will let it attack through, and we don't want to just suicide attack it. So making it unblockable, I think it's a good way. We also have the Gossip's Talent, the level 2 also gives it unblockable. And then how are we getting value? Well, other parts of the card, Kiora, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. Omnisci, Profit. So we're getting a little bit of value out of that half of the Kiora as well. And then the issue with the token, it's legendary. This card works really well because legend rule doesn't apply. So we're talking about making an 8/8 every turn, and they just have to stick and they make each other stronger as well. So yeah, that's very powerful. We also want to reach Threshold. Obviously you can just play like opt on turn 1. I can play a blue fetch land even though I'm playing mono blue. I can counter spell, and then eventually I will have Threshold. But we want to make sure by the time we attack with Kiora on turn 4, we can already have Threshold. The Overflowing Well does work a little bit. It mills 2 cards. The interesting part as well is it flips. It's a very powerful on the back as well. Drown Secrets will be one of the more powerful ways, and then you get your Threshold, and then you can start milling your opponent as well. Or if opponent ever deals with your graveyard, you can rebuild really quickly. So yeah, that is Kiora. Again, I don't think it's one of the more interesting ones, but you know, if you like big 8/8s, you want to self-mill a little bit, go ahead. Kiora is your girl. Kiora is your girl. Next, now we're in mono black. This is another reprint, Myojin. I want to say that's Myojin of Knight's Reach. It's at 8 mana. That's so expensive. 5/2 comes into play with, if you cast it from your hand. I messed up, guys. We're gonna skip this one. This one is actually terrible because there's a very important part that I missed. If you cast it from your hand, go back. You do not cast Myojin from your hand. You cast it from the command zone. If you cast it from command zone, it does not have a divinity counter. If it does not have a divinity counter, it's just an 8 mana 5/2 with nothing. So yeah, Myojin should be here. That was yeah, like I said, this past weeks have been I haven't had the time, so I couldn't put as much prep I wanted into this video, and I misread a card. I am so sorry. We move on. We move. Tiny Bones, which has been getting, I think that's the 3rd Tiny Bones we get in the last, I want to say 3-4 years. But yeah, Tiny Bones, the Bauble Burglar. 2 mana 1/3. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you exile with a stash counter. During your turn, you may play cards you don't own with stash counters on them, and you can spend any mana. And then for 4 mana, you can tap it, and each opponent discards a card. New card, Blasphemous Edict, 5 mana. Each player sacrifices 13 creatures, and if there are at least 13 creatures in the battlefield, you can use this for just a single black mana. Super powerful removal. So yeah, I was interested in adding it here and highlighting it because I just think it's gonna be a staple in Brawl, especially if you face any tokens deck. It's gonna be crazy, and if they ever make multiplayer, the card is insane. Other than that, we obviously have Tiny Bones. Would be really good in the Tiny Bones deck. Who would have thought? Anything that's gonna get value from opponents discarding. So this is gonna draw us extra card, this is gonna draw us card, give us mana, make tokens, so it's not super powerful. Bonus talent is gonna get value from opponent having a low hand, because it's gonna both deal them damage and draw us cards. And then we also want ways to make opponent discard the turn we play Tiny Bones without having to spend extra mana, if that makes sense. So basically, we play Tiny Bones on turn 4 because they played on turn 2 they died. We already have a Lilian on play, so we can +1. We're gonna get a card and put a stash counter in it. We play Tiny Bones, our Clazots can attack. We're gonna get a card with a stash counter in it. It's worth noting, it says you may play cards, so even if your opponent discards lands, you can play said lands. Then to round off the deck, I mean, so we're gonna play all the discard Thought Seizes, your Mind Rots, all everything you can think, Inquisition, Davrio, I think it's called as well. Maybe I'm misremembering. But yeah, opponent's probably gonna have an empty hand. Asylum Visitor, Tegra is gonna get value from the discarding as well. It's another mono black discard deck. We obviously have Tiny Bones, the other one. Like, I think they're very interchangeable. It's gonna be up to you which one you prefer. But yeah, mono black discard is nothing new. So in that regard, I'm not as excited. But I like mono black discard, so I can always change around with my commander. Up next, we have Zuasher, Lich Lord. It's a 2-mana 2/2 zombie warlock with ward paid to life, which, you know, is always nice to have some kind of built-in protection, even though it's just 2 life. It's not that meaningful. And then you can tap it to cast a you can setback. Tap it. You may cast target zombie creature card from your graveyard this turn. Cool. We're playing mono black zombies. Death Baron. It's a reprint, I know, but it's actually in Foundation, so I'm gonna allow myself to include it there. Legion of Mastery, all your zombie lords, you wanna include them. Then non-zombie lords also help you get creatures in the graveyard, because it's you can come to a point where the board is kind of stuck and you're just stuck with the zombies you wanna cast. You have no zombies in the graveyard, so having powerful ways to sacrifice them and get value. So we have Gukologi, so we have Kalita, is gonna get itself bigger. Out of Dimension, so you're gonna be milling, gonna get more zombies in the graveyard, so you're gonna sack a zombie. Oh, you got no zombies. Well, I sacked a zombie, so I can cast that zombie again. Very powerful. Ripples, obviously very powerful, milling very early game, just getting a bunch of zombies in the graveyard. And then I didn't want to add, I still hope, they nerfed Nadu. I still hope they're gonna ban Paradox Engine at some point. Well, whilst it's legal, if you like the combos, Ashnod's Outer, Paradox Engine, and like an Automaton or any like free, not free, colorless zombie. There's a, zombie changeling. There's another one for 2 mana that would work as well. But basically, you can keep sacking it, replaying with Zuasha, you cast it on tap and then do it again. If you have like a Zulaport Cutthroat in play, if you're generating mana, so if you have an extra black somewhere, you could maybe play something for a lot of mana. Blood Artist, any kind of fact like that. GG, I mean it's infinite, and you just need some way to get value from either the infinite colorless or the infinite death triggers or the infinite cast triggers or whatever you want, but there's combos to be had. Zombie Lord, we have a few already, zombie commanders rather, some in blue-black as well, which I do like having access to more than just one color, but I probably will try this one. I probably will, because I think there is something about it, there's something about it. Up next, we're already in red, and this, the way I want to describe this is you get to play Ragavan as your commander without being in the hell queue. What do I mean by that? It doesn't get as much value from Ragavan from the get-go. It will get once you activate it by like 2 mana, and you're gonna start exiling cards from the top of your library, and you can start playing them. The thing is, the issue with Ragavan, you just get put into a hell queue against other Ragavans, against Raskos and decks like that, where it's just a sweat fest. Kellen is the closest we have, like a 1-mana aggressive red commander. Like I tried Norin, I had fun with the deck, but it's Norin, and like it has a gimmick. This one is just a straight up good card. It doesn't push you in any direction. It's just like a mono red aggressive deck. So to me, this is the non-Hellkill Ragavan, if you will. New card, Sear Slicer Goblin. At the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, you create a goblin. So for 2 mana, on turn 2 you're gonna finish the turn with 5 power already if you go Kellen into Slicer Goblin. Ragavan, anything that's just any powerful card, you just want to play them. This is a mono red powerful deck. Blood Moon, Fable, and then to get value from this part of the Kellen, when you deal combat damage to play, exile top card of your library, you may play the card this turn. We have like Key to the City and Cliffhaven Kaiser as examples of ways to make sure it goes through so you get the value. But we also want to get value from having cards in exile and casting them. So Unstable Amulet's going to ping people, and Layla will just keep getting bigger. So anything that gets a little bit of value is just, these are good cards in a vacuum, but they get better with this. So, that's great. But yeah, this is mono red aggressive, not in the hell queue. So for me, it's a good deck. I'm going to build it so I get to play fixed Ragavan, if you will. That's the only red commander. Now we go to Dwayne and Guildleaf Taean, Elf Lord, 4 mana. Whenever it attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. If you're gonna play mono green elves, there's probably better commanders. But so why do we need Dwynen? Why would we run Dwynen? We wanna play on the life gain aspect as well, being on mono green, so we don't get the value of like the mono white cards I usually get, value from gaining life. New card, Band of Kinship, is going to be basically in most tribal decks that play a lot of creatures, which should be most of them. When he enters, you choose a creature type. He enters with a Fellowship counter for each creature control of the chosen type. So any tribe that goes wide, aka elves, aka zombies, cats, if you will, this is going to be very powerful. So creature control of the chosen type gets +1/+1 for each Fellowship counter on this artifact, and it just sticks. So your creatures could, for example, if I have 5 elves, all my creatures are going to get 5/5. Incredibly powerful, incredibly good to finish the games off. Running all the elf lords, anything that helps us, all the good elf cards, I don't think that needs to be necessary, all the good tribal cards. They also draw cards, because the issue with elves that could happen, you just can get underwhelming creatures, or you don't have any way to go through, so you need any ways to draw cards and keep playing. You just need a mass of elves, if you will. And then what makes Dwynen interesting is the life gain aspect, as we mentioned. So we have Averflux Reservoir. And then again, we can play Paradox Engine here. We have the Reservoir. We have a bunch of cheap elves. We have ways to keep drawing through a deck, playing cards from the top of the deck, gaining a lot of life. And the Reservoir can probably kill very easily with the Paradox Engine, even more so. Well, Lost Dreams, again, another thing that can happen. We have a lot of these mana generating elves. And then we kind of just stuck. We have nothing going on in our hand. Attack with Dwynen. Gain, let's say, 7 life, maybe like so it's jump attack with a few creatures, pay 7 mana, draw 7 cards. So yeah, I think that aspect makes Dwynen interesting and would make me want to try her as opposed to other elf commanders. Up next, the mascot no one asked for. They keep trying to make loot happen. It's not gonna happen. We don't care about loot. It's really not that interesting as a character. But anyways, 3 mana, 1/4, you can play an additional land on each of your turns, and then you can pay 6 mana and look at the top 6 card of your library by tapping loot, of course, and then you can review a creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control and put it into play. So what are we doing here? We're playing mono green lands ramp. Who would have thought? But we're gonna have a heavy focus on creatures, because one issue that can happen, you can just be stuck with the wrong half of the deck and just have ramp, and then if we don't run enough creature ramp, loot is just going to be like, oh, I spent 6 mana and I got nothing. So we want creatures that find land, so we have our land count be higher, so we can hit all the creatures in our deck, but also we want those to be creatures that find land. You get me, okay? Let's go again. New card, Genesis Wave, not new, reprint, but new to Arena. Review the top X card of your library. You pay 3 and X, so you're going to have a lot of mana. Pay 3 and 10, 13 mana, very doable. And then your deck's gonna be mostly permanents. You just put a bunch of freaking creatures, a bunch of freaking lands. Now your loot activations are better, and you just have a huge board. Very powerful. As for finding lands, of like Colossus, Primeval Titan, good hits off of loot. Hydra, good hit off loot. We're playing a bunch of extra lands, so any landfall, Tireless Tracker, Bailoffs, very powerful. Ashaya makes all our creatures into lands. So now the land count just jumps super high, like we have 5 lands, but with loot and Ashaya we already have 7 if they're both in play, for example. And then we have like the likes of Sylvan Tutor, anything that can search for creatures, put on top of a deck, or put in like anything that lets us know what's coming on top, like Course of Krufix, so at least we know one of the 6 cards that loot's gonna look into. It makes it a better decision to know when to activate, basically. But yeah, it's a mono green ramp. Yeah, you go heavy on creatures, but I think that can already happens anyway, so I don't think it brings anything new, but it's playable and can be interesting enough. So yeah. Up next, now in the multicolors, we have Kaikar, Zephyr Awakener, 3/4 for 4 mana, flying, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can either create a 1/1 spirit with flying, or exile a creature control and return it at the beginning of the next end step. And its controller's control at the beginning of the end step. New card, Creator of Destiny, 6 mana, 5/5, comes into play. You look at the top 5 and you fact of fiction. You put as many as you want face down, as many as you want face up, and they choose one to put into your hand and the other one goes into the graveyard. Very good card to blink. We're basically looking for good cards to blink, good blink effects, and we also we want instants and sorceries, so like counter spells also work, because I get to counter your thing and get a blink on one of my powerful ETBs. Very powerful. So free spells, Flare of Denial for example, any blink spells, like I ephemerate one of my creatures, kick out triggers, I get to blink another one of my creatures. Very powerful effect. And then we just want the usuals, Abuelo, Soher, the kind of things you play in blue-white blink. And then, because we are going heavier on this non-creature spell, so we get the triggers of Kiker, don't know. Turn a Trap Trainer is going to find instants or sorceries or non-creature spells, which triggers Kiker. Micromancer can search for like Ephemerate, Brainstorm, Source to Plowshares, just good cards that also happen to trigger Kiker. You trigger Kiker, you blink Micromancer, it comes into play, you find another non-creature spell, rinse and repeat. Kind of the idea there. I'm going to build this deck. I love blink. My real life commander deck is a 4-color blink deck, so this one is for me. Next we have Alicia, who loves the Fate, and this would be one of my favorite ones from this set. I think there's one that I like better, but I really like Alicia. So 3 mana 2/2 first strike. Whenever you attack, you put a counter on it. At the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, note, if you attack this turn, not if you attacked with Alicia this turn, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alicia's power from your graveyard. So if you go 1-drop, it gets killed. Like Ragavan turn 1, it gets killed. Turn 2, I play... God, I can't think of a 2-drop, what the hell. Inti, thank you Inti, you're right there. Turn 3, I untap, I attack with Inti, with... I discard... God knows, I discard... 2-drop Croxa, for example. Second main phase, I play Alicia, Alicia triggers, I bring back Croxa, I get a trigger from Croxa, goes back to the graveyard. Seems very powerful. That's all. You have a good board, you've done damage, you've interacted. Very powerful effect. New card, Abyssal Harvester. 3 mana 3/2, you can tap it, exile a creature from a graveyard, let's put that this turn. So we're going to be discarding a lot of cards, we're going to be self-milling, even maybe sacrificing. So this way we're going to be able to use this guy. Exile, well, yeah, we create a copy of that creature and it stays in play until we activate this ability again, and then we lose all the nightmares. It's a very powerful card. I don't know if this is the best deck for it, but I think it's a very powerful card. Ripples of Undeath, it's going to mill us, and it's going to discard cards. Infamous Crew Claw is also going to discard cards. Also worth noting, they're both very small creatures in the sense of like 2 mana, 3 mana, so Alicia can very easily bring them back, and I think that's important. Croxa, Seasoned Pyromancer, it's cards that we're happy to discard and mill, and also they're very cheap to bring back, and like Croxa will bring back, goes back to the graveyard, so we can keep bringing back every turn. Seasoned Pyromancer, we're going to discard other cards that we can then bring back, so very powerful effect. And then we have Ogre Barrel Driver and the Enduring Courage. Basically, if they in play, I can play Alicia and attack with her the same turn. She also gets bigger, so she's already 4 power. She attacks, so she's 5 power. I can bring back a 5 mana card from my graveyard, like a Glory Bringer, like a Siege Gang Commander. Siege Gang Commander, very good card. She'll probably be in this deck. So yeah, I think it's just hitting the right spots, and I think it can be a very competitive deck as well. If you build it more low to the ground, more into tons of pressure early, just kill you off late with a couple burn spells, a couple haste creatures, but just this early pressure, just amassing everything and putting your opponent down. Top 2 of my favorite from this new set, and I'm definitely going to make a video in the next week or 2 depending how I do in drafts. Next, this is my favorite. It's not a new card, it's a reprint, but Ailey the Eternal Pilgrim, 2 mana 2/3, Death Touch, doesn't matter. You can pay 1 mana, sacrifice another creature. You gain life, you could sacrifice creature's toughness. That's cool, not the important part. 3 mana, sacrifice another creature. Exile target non-land permanent. Activate only if you have at least 10 more life than your starting life total. Very easy to get a high life total, so we can start using Ailey to just kill every single thing my opponent has. We want... let's go first through the new card, Bloodthirst Conqueror. You're gonna see this card a lot in these black-white life gain decks. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. that has a lot of infinite combos. So, for example, with Veto, whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Opponent lost life, you gain that life. Or you gain life, opponent loses life. Your opponent loses life, so you gain life. Exquisite Blood, Enduring Tenacity. There's a lot of like redundant pieces for this. So yeah, we're gonna be seeing this a lot. So if you don't like this combination, you're not gonna have fun with against a lot of the black-white life gain decks, even mono black. But yeah, so we wanted to gain life. We have Amalia, it's gonna get value from gaining life. Speak of Havens, any of those cards that get bigger from you having a high life total. There's even a new card that we're going to go through in a moment. A new commander. Actually, this guy here, Lando, also gets a lot of value from having extra life. But anyways, we also want creatures that come back, because we don't want to just be sacking creatures. Like, we don't want to sack Bloodthirst Conqueror, we don't want to sack Veto, we don't want to sack Speaker or Amalia. We want to sack like Bloodghast, we want to sack Bloodsoaked Champion, we want to sack Gutter Bones, anything like that. Any creature that gets to come back, so we get to cast them again. And I think, and I want, and I will build this deck with, I put Lurrus here because I think we can build a very competitive, aggressive version with Lurrus as your companion, and just very low to the ground, just from turn 1 to 5, I'm going to use every single mana I have, and I'm going to gain a lot of life, and I'm going to start killing your stuff. And like, not only your creatures, but your artifacts, your enchantments, your planeswalkers, like, it's going to go crazy. So I think that will be a very interesting way to build it. Obviously, you do lose access to like this combination of cards, but you get to have a really good aggressive deck. So do look out for the Ailey Lurrus deck that I will probably upload in the next week or two, because I'm very excited about it. This is my top one, just ahead of Alicia. Up next, I have Atlanta. If I try to make it as different as possible, but it falls in the same category as Ailey in a way where you just want to gain life. So obviously, Bloodthirst Conqueror is here again, because she gets bigger. If your life total is greater than your starting life total, it gets +1/+1 menace. If it's 10, if it has 10 extra lives, and the starting life total gets +5/+5, so it just becomes a 10/10. By turn 4, you can probably have more than 10 of your starting life total. But anyways, Bloodthirst Conqueror, very powerful card. Leyline of Hope and Righteous Valkyrie, since you're going to have at least 7 life more than your starting life total, you ideally have 10. Your creatures are going to get a lot bigger. Soothsayer is going to make a, what is the cover? Sanguine Bond, so we can have more combos with Bloodthirst Conqueror and Veto and whatever. That package is going to be in this deck as well. And we just want to make sure by the time we play Alanda, we have these 10 extra life totals. So like Soul Warden, Authority of the Council, God of Souls. Sword also going to get value. Speaker of Havens also was in the previous deck, also gets value from you having extra life. These two are very similar, and Elanda will probably be in the Ailey deck, Ailey will probably be in the Elanda deck. You can even just switch them around at who you want your commander and try them out. I think you can play the exact same 99 with switching them two around. I don't think, the only difference would be Lurrus as a commander, as a companion or not. But yeah, very interchangeable, but I think I prefer the abilities of Ailey than Elanda, but I think they're both very good. Up next, let me just make sure the video is still going, otherwise I'm gonna cry. It's still going, good. Up next we have Niv-Mizzet, and this one I'm a bit annoyed because they have, well, annoyed will not be the word. It has a infinite combo of itself with Niv-Mizzet and Niv-Mizzet, and I find that kind of boring because it's just 2 on your face. But basically, whenever sorcery control deals no combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. So whenever you draw a card, it deals 1 damage to any target. Deal 1 damage to opponent. This triggers. You draw a card. You dealt 1 damage. You draw a card. You draw a card. You do 1 damage. You do 1 damage. You draw a card. So like this goes off and you win the game. But yeah, anyways, we have new card, Twin Flame Tyrant. If a sorcery control will deal damage to an opponent controls, deals double the damage. But basically, it's the idea with these two together, you're going to be drawing. If they deal 1 damage from Roiling Vortex, it deals 2 damage, so you draw 2 cards instead, for example. Powerful, can't complain. Other than that, we're just drawing extra cards and doing damage to opponent. Favorite Visions, drawing extra cards, you're going to ping opponent if their hand's full. Omniscient Sea and Alliance going to get value from us drawing extra cards. Prof's going to make a Niv-Mizzet huge, and then Maddening Hacks is really powerful. Whenever you play cast a non-creature spell, roll a d6. And then it deals damage to that player to the result. So opponent casts a whatever, and they roll a 3. Oh, cool, you just get to draw 3 cards from opponent. And the idea is, you play this on turn 3, and then you play Niv-Mizzet. Cool, they want to kill Niv-Mizzet, you're going to get a trigger from the Maddening Hacks. So you're at least going to be certain to draw 1 card from Niv-Mizzet. So yeah, that's I think it's necessary, because otherwise, because Niv Mizzet doesn't have any built-in protection, otherwise you're gonna have to wait until 7 or 8 to play it and have a counter piece up, or at least have a lightning bolt up so you can draw a card. So Medding Hex does work really well. Blue, Izzet, pinging your opponent, drawing cards is what Izzet does. It's powerful, can't go wrong with it. It's expensive, so it's not going to be in the more competitive side, as opposed to the Parun, which has the can't be counted, and opponent kills it, you're going to draw a card and at least ping it, so you're at least going to replace itself. It doesn't have that, so it's a more casual Niv Mizzet, but it's good. Next we have Lafreo, Blade of the Elves, which is also probably my top 3. The Lafreo, Alicia, and Ailey are my top 3 for this set that I'm excited about. So 4 mana 2/3 with Menace. Whenever it deals combat to a player, you create that many 1/1. That many. If it has 2 power, it creates 2. If it has 10 power, it creates 10. You tap it and 10 untapped elves you control. Each opponent loses 10 life, you gain 10 life. New card, Preposterous Proportions. That's the name. Creature control gets +1/+1, gain Vigilance. They don't gain Trample, but they gain Vigilance. So what it means, you attack for a bunch, opponent soaks up as much damage as they can, and then you tap 11 elves, including Lafreo, and deal an extra 10 damage to opponent. I think that's powerful. Silver Boots is going to protect our Lafreo and give a haste, so I can tap it, because you need to tap it to then tap another 10 elves. So it needs haste, so Swift Boots work well, and then we want to make sure we have a huge mass. Obviously we can just play Landwide Elves, Elvish Mystic, Dwynen's Elite, things like that, but like Elvish and Bush, it's going to help us get to 10, and Lissalon Huntmaster is going to help us get to 10 very quickly. Dwynen, all the lords are very good, because that means Lafreo's power is greater. If the power is greater and it pushes damage, you're going to create more tokens. Shaman of the Pack, since you're going to tap 11 elves to deal 10 damage, you play the Shaman, that's 12 damage. Very powerful. Seraph, worth noting, this is not stuck to sorcery speed, so with Seraph, all creatures on tap, they have Hexproof, and then you block the creatures, you tap them all to activate Lafreo, and now they all have Death Touch. Cool. Very powerful effect. And then Paradox Engine, obviously. You tap 11, you cast a spell, you untap all of them, you do it again, you cast another spell, you know, those kind of stuff. I think it's worth noting, but I don't think it's necessary, only if you want to go a bit more competitive. Black Green Elves with your commander having a very good inevitability. Sign me up all day, every day. Now we go to 3 blue-green commanders, which, if you guys watch this channel, I'm not a big fan of the blue-green commanders, because I think they're all very similar and they do similar stuff. I play extra lands and I draw extra cards and I win the game. So I tried to give suggestions that are a bit more out there. So Coma, World Eater, 8, 12 for 7 mana. Whenever it deals combat damage to play, you create 4 3/3 blue serpents. Serpent Tribal. I would build Serpent Tribal just to be different, because otherwise you're just playing blue-green ramp, and then you can just play any blue-green commander. There's no reason why to play Coma as your commander. So Doubling Season, it's a reprint, but it's in Foundation, so I included it here. It's going to make double the tokens, so instead of making 4, you make 8. The other Coma as well. As you can see, we included a lot of the commander and another version of the same legendary creature. Funny enough. But yeah, you sacrifice Serpent to tap things. Sling Voda, bounce all non-serpents. Swarming Wave, non-serpents. Well, other creature types as well, but it's usually going to be all creatures except your own. Serpent of Yawning Depths is going to make your common basically unblockable to make sure it goes through and you get a trigger. Not going to say the name. The Smiling Flood also. Sorry, I'm dying here. Just another serpent. You just need serpents. There's not many serpents, so yeah. So if Boots and Aether Tunnel is going to make sure we can attack the moment the common comes to play, because it's an expensive card. It's hard to kill. It's uncounterable. It has a word 4, so it's not an easy card to get rid of. But Aether Tunnel makes sure we can go through. Even though 8 power with Trample should be enough, Aether Tunnel makes sure. But yeah, blue-green commander, trying something different. Serpent Tribal, obviously you're going to have a lot of ramp because your serpent is expensive, but you know, try to do something different. Prime Speaker Zagana, if you will. It's a reprint from like original Ravnica. I don't know if it was from the commander decks or was it actual from the actual set. But yeah, enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counter, where X is the greatest power among creatures control. When he enters, you draw cards equal to its power. Gigantosaurus, it's a reprint. but it has a really cool art, so I included it here. 5 mana 10/10, you play Zagan, you put 10 cards, you draw 11 cards. We're interested in any creatures that like we can play early and they keep growing, so like lower scale Quado, anything. If we have Proft, we can keep making creatures bigger, things like that. Then we want to get value from creatures having counters, because we want to have a counter sub theme. So Zagana, again, she appears twice, just like with Tiny Bone, just like with Niv Mizzet, just like with Coma. Anyways, gonna give everything trample, since you're gonna have a huge Zagana. Having trample is important, make it unblockable. Thoughts of Deep Dwelling is very powerful because you can just blink the Prime Speaker. Anything that lets you blink is gonna be very good, because you're just gonna keep drawing cards, and it's gonna be a lot of cards most of the time. Arik Smith is a cheap creature. It's not a creature that comes to play, but you can, you know, use it's gonna ramp you to Prime Speaker, and eventually it's gonna be a 12/12, which is gonna mean you play Prime Speaker, you draw 13 cards. Seems very good. Then we have Simic Ascendancy as an alternative win con, and I think that's just a powerful effect. We can't complain about that. And then Nexus, or any other ability of this sort where you can double, you can proliferate when something comes to play, because the Prime Speaker draw ability is a trigger. So it ended with X plus 1 guard. So for example, it enters with 5 +1 +1 guard, so it's a 6 power. This triggers, with the trigger on the stack, you pay 2 mana, you double it, now you're gonna drop card equal to its power, it's gonna be 12. So yeah, the Nexus is very powerful. But yeah, this is gonna be blue-green counters, draw card. I feel like we have a few of these commanders already, interchangeable as part of the 99 as a commander with quite a few other blue-green commanders. But that's the blue-green gimmick, isn't it? And lastly, we have Zimone Paradox's Sculptor. The beginning of your combat of your turn, pull a +1/+1 card on each of up to 2 target creatures you control, more counters. And then you pay 2 mana and tap, and you can double the number of each counter of up to 2 target creatures and or artifacts. Again, a lot of +1/+1 counters, a lot of creatures that get value. We have Rishka, we have Herald, we have Adana, we have Season of Gathering to put counters. We're gonna get value. New card, Great Worm. The part we're interested in, whenever creature controls combat damage to damage during your turn, you may put them many +1/+1 counters on it. So it's gonna wait to make it big and then double it, and it's just gonna be huge. The part I'm interested in is the double the amount of counters on artifacts. So we have like Strixhaven Stadium. This could be an alternative win con. We could also have the Simic Ascendancy in this deck as well. Let's say it has like 4 are they called stadium counters? Point counter. You have 4 point counters, you double it, has 8, so now you're very close to just winning the game with that. And then the Spectre as well, you put charge counters on it. If you have like 2 charge counters, you double them, you have 4, you take an extra turn. And then on that extra turn, you can put a charge counter on it, and then you can double it, rinse and repeat. With Paradox Engine, you probably can go infinite. But yeah, I think that makes the Zimone interesting enough. Because otherwise it's just why I'm gonna play Zimone over Prime Speaker or any other blue-green counters commander. With that in mind, that has been the review, because the set is already out, of the new Brawl commanders from Foundations. If you do, let me know which ones you're more excited about, which ones you like to see me build, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios.